Good morning, my friends. As we walk through the in-between weeks from Christmas to New Year's and into the year of 2021, and the possibility that vaccination will open some of what has been closed to us for these past long months, we are again dealing with transition, or at least thoughts about transition. And the practice of mindfulness, the practice of being in the present, the practice of looking deeply can be a remarkable way of grounding when fear, anxiety, or loneliness, often with no clear pathway to feeling grounded again due to uncertainty, arises. Many people speak of a kind of bone-deep weariness, others of interrupted sleep or profound loneliness. Too often everything seems magnified, or else perhaps it seems more numbed. And in mindfulness practice, we seek the middle way of holding both hope and sadness at the same time. There is no logical way to do this, as the two sides would appear to conflict with each other. But in mindfulness practice, a whole new operating system begins to come about, and Cynthia Bourgeault calls it. And in these next few meditations, we'll be mindfully reflecting on the losses and the desires that this pandemic has triggered in us and in our lives. And I will be offering you steps to walk through that grief. Unacknowledged grief is being triggered at many levels for all of us during this pandemic. So let us be seated, allowing yourself to feel the security and the comfort of the chair that is familiar to you now. Nothing has changed here. Notice the support against your back and how the breath moves gently in your lower belly. If you can't quite feel it in your lower belly, push your lower belly out a little bit with each in-breath and release it with each out-breath, and gently guide the breath to fall into your lower belly. This is where the response of relaxation is triggered, in the diaphragm going up to the brain. So allow yourself to breathe gently, quietly, receptively, as you notice what is familiar in your present moment right around you. Take notice. Allow gratitude to arise for all that is not lost at this time, what has remained familiar right now in the here and now. Are you in a familiar room, sitting in your familiar chair? Is the air around you comfortable in just the way it usually is? Or perhaps you've just eaten a meal with foods that you like and are familiar, or maybe even adding in something different or special, as many of us seem to be learning to cook differently during the pandemic, just because of having so much time to do so. Allow your mind, with your eyes closed, to wander through the room that you currently sit in. What is in that room that you remember? In your imagination, walk around it and look at those things that you use regularly that are in that room. Allow yourself to feel the comfort of that regularity. Allow yourself to remember a time, who was present, and what you were doing that took place in that room. that brought you a smile. If you can, let your face smile just a little bit right now, just turning up the corners of your lips as you remember. It's well known that a smile requires the use of so many muscles that it actually begins to change our present experience and deepen it. And as you smile, that slight little turned up smile, bring to mind those things that give you pleasure right now at this time. Perhaps a hot shower or bath. Perhaps the smell of bread baking and the taste that comes up very soon afterwards of homemade bread. Perhaps a phone call or a Zoom conversation with someone that you might not otherwise have spent that time with. Were it not for the pandemic, we have found new ways to reach out to others, and more frequently. And as you follow your imagination, allow your next breath to expand your chest. Bring it up from your belly and breathe in the feeling of familiarity, gratefulness, comfort even, that you find around you right now. This is not easy, but it is entirely possible that in the chaos, in the frightening statistics, in overconsumption of news that is not much different than yesterday's, but somehow grabs attention and creates more anxiety or more desire to avoid knowing altogether. So today, as we begin this mindfulness series on working with grief and loss and uncertainty in this time of transition into the coming year, let us each moment remember to start with what Thai calls the seeds of joy. You may remember that the Buddhist concept of human development is that all the seeds for all emotions and all qualities of personality are already in us at the time we become human form. And the work in our life is to be mindful and to water those seeds of joy. To water them first before dealing with anything that is difficult. This is a teaching that Thai repeats over and over and lives from moment to moment. When there would be a difficult issue in the community, the Sangha, as it's called in Buddhist practice, we would start first with the tea ceremony, where each person poured tea for the person next to them, going around in a circle, and then offered them a cookie off of a plate as it was passed to them, and they passed it on. And as we sat there, we looked around, waited for everybody to be served, and brought about that little smile, just like you've been doing, just turning your lips up gently at the corners. Not a smirk now, a smile. You can tell the difference. And we would sit that way for 5 minutes or so, sharing the experience of sharing tea and sweets. And only then would we turn to whatever business or conflict lay in front of us. I cannot tell you exactly how that changes things, but in my own experience, it is quite profound. Water the seeds of joy before dealing with anything that is difficult. It doesn't even have to take that long. So bring that into your practice today, my friends, as we move into this transition week and into this next year. Water your seeds of joy today. Namaste. Amen.